Hi, I'm Dolores Inés Casillas, faculty in the Department of Chicana and Chicano Studies, an affiliate of Applied Linguistics, Film and Media, and the Center for Information, Technology, and Society, and as of October 2020, the director of the Chicano Studies Institute, known on campus as CSI. This is an image we've chosen to welcome visitors to our website. Just below the posters, "We the People," is the phrase, "are greater than fear," or sometimes seen as "We the People defend dignity." They were distributed to marches and rallies in early 2017 in support of immigrants, women, and communities of color. This image captures CSI's research spirit and inclusive understanding of we the people. CSI has a public mandate to facilitate interdisciplinary and field-specific research from both scholars and students from all disciplines to pursue work that helps policymakers, educators, service providers, and the interested public better understand cultural and social justice issues engaged by U.S. Latino, Chicano, and Latin American communities. Our mission statement reminds us that CSI was founded from student activism. UCSB students went on a hunger strike in the 1990s and demanded, among other things, a research center, that students could read more about themselves in college classrooms, so that research included Chicano and Latino communities, and to foster a research culture based in expanded and non-traditional approaches that are critical and collaborative. CSI's composition for 2019-20 consisted of our business officer, Tracy Goss, rightfully positioned in the heart of this diagram. We look a bit different now because of a recent administrative cluster with our good friends with the Center for Black Studies Research. But in essence, this small center fuels a lot of activity with significant impact. Some examples from 2019-20. CSI managed funds and projects for 29 different affiliates, many, as you know, with multiple accounts. CSI administered 9 events. 2 of those had budgets over $15,000. They organized internships in the community for undergraduate students. CSI dispersed 14 different sources of funding for faculty and graduate students to generate research projects. And we had 8 co-authored publications, and I emphasize co-authored since we strive for cross-disciplinary collaborations. I do want to applaud this center for its many transitions, including 3 directors during the 2019-2020 year. Lara Romo was a director for 7 years. Geraldo Aldana served as interim director for 6 months before becoming dean for the College of Creative Studies, and as I mentioned, I resumed responsibilities last October. I also want to share that my first work-study job as an undergraduate at 19 years old at UC Davis was as a student assistant at the Chicana Latina Research Center, a similar center at UC Davis. That led to research assistant opportunities with 2 professors. That same center paid for my first academic presentation at a conference. They also paired me with a grad student who helped me fill out my own graduate school applications. And then years later, as a graduate student at Michigan, I applied to the only 2 Latina-specific dissertation fellowships. One from that same center at UC Davis and one from UCSB. This very center. I was awarded both, but I chose UC Davis because as these stories go, it involved following a boy who wisely married me 2 years later. But what a gift to be here at UCSB nearly 15 or so years later, directing the very kind of center that helped me get here. I must also thank our dedicated 2019-2020 Advisory Committee, extraordinary individuals who are just as invested in CSI's goals. No one misses a meeting, even now when we can't offer coffee and cookies. CSI strives for research excellence by focusing on building a research culture that is collaborative, rigorous, creative, and often applied. We have begun to offer funding for research clusters meant to foster dialogue among faculty and graduate students around a structured theme. For instance, this year we funded a group from geography and education focused on mental health within immigrant queer communities. We offer seed funding for defined, modest research plans. We host workshops and offer mentorship on the grant-making process, and we make sure to incentivize including students in projects by offering more funding if they do. This has led to some productive research collaborations. With our HSI Student Affairs initiative, we place grad students in charge of data sets specific to different units to make sense of how undergraduates seek resources. With Professor Romo's UC Cancer Research Grant, graduate student teams facilitated research on e-cigarettes at San Marcos High School and Dos Pueblos High School. We also funded a group of Latina STEM undergraduates who held meetings and workshops with Latina STEM high school students in Oxnard. We're also joining the Monarch program out of the Office of Undergraduate Student Services to offer research opportunities for more undocumented undergraduate students. These collaborations result in research funding from various sources. For the 2019-20 year, CSI secured funding from really diverse sources, from the California Healthy Foundation, NEH, NASA, Department of Education, among others. These key projects best represent CSI from 2019-2020. I will speak a bit about three: the astronomy, health, and our internships. Geraldo Adana partnered with NASA to develop a bilingual first grade curriculum on Mayan indigenous astronomy at a Latino-dominant school. 6-year-olds were taught Mayan stories about stars and constellations. They were taught to understand that the stars and science stem from their own indigenous histories. Juanita Garcia and colleagues in Mexico have embarked on a project researching the mental well-being of older undocumented populations, both in the U.S. as well as those elder population that have been deported and now find themselves living back in Mexico. CSI also hosts internships. We did so for 16 undergraduates with the community organization, the 805 UndocuFund. This took place at the beginning of the pandemic. They managed each student a caseload of 10 to 15 families, interviewed them in Spanish, translated that to do paperwork in English, all with essential workers, all undocumented, and it was all intended to help them apply for funds for lost wages. And I just heard from the director of the Promise Scholars Program, since many of these in the internships were first-generation students, Promise Scholars, that many of these students actually wrote about this experience when applying to graduate school. I look forward to building CSI through new directions, new projects, and goals. Besides our new website, we are setting up an Instagram page, a YouTube page, and a quarterly newsletter. We look to strengthen our collaborations with the sciences, and we currently host 3 different Latino health research groups, plus Eldana's astronomy project, and we just drafted some research grants on the significance of a culturally relevant STEM experience. We will continue to focus on incoming faculty, a personalized approach to introducing them to grant making. Recently, we offered a course release to junior scholars whose research aligned with CSI for the Commit to Submit program. And as I hope you've seen here, UCSB hosts a renowned collection called CIMA, the Collection of Ethnic Multicultural Archives. Many of these art collections of art pieces are not digitized and personally visited during the summer months by visiting scholars. CSI would like to develop a partnership with CIMA to co-host visiting scholars. Students feel a sense of belonging when engaged in an internship, and that sense of belonging translates into academic achievement. We are just now recruiting undergrads for a media internship project where students will create COVID-19 safety videos in Spanish for a local Title I low-income school. And also, we will be taking a more central role in HSI campus discussions, from assisting with research teams to managing grants. Currently, CSI has been appointed by Chancellor Yang as a representative for a larger consortium on 16 R1 HSI campuses. And we just submitted our first NSF HSI grant under my directorship just 2 weeks ago. I look forward to learning much more about other units and programs on campus and even off campus. Please do not hesitate to contact us for future collaborations, and I thank you for listening.